Hi everyone, welcome to video number 3, where we are now ready to put together the full IRAC paragraph, beginning with the issue sentence and ending with the conclusion sentence, the rule and the analysis in the middle. And remember, the last slide of this PowerPoint contains the full IRAC paragraph in the format it's supposed to look like, with actually like a full paragraph. But right now we're just breaking it down section by section. So first we're going to begin with the issue. So the issue that we are trying to determine here, and again, it's the sub-issue of the big issue of burglary, is whether the Danvers Executive Travel Lodge is a dwelling. So this could be your issue sentence. This could be how you begin the IRAC. Now, something we'll talk about throughout the semester and throughout legal research and writing classes is that you could frame this a different way. Depending on where this paragraph falls, you could say something like the first issue is, or the second issue is. You could also say the first issue is whether the structure in which Bob entered is considered a dwelling. You know, you can frame it in different ways, but the key takeaway is that it's just one sentence and you're identifying what that sub-issue is. Okay, so let's move on to the rule, because that's where we get a little bit more meat to our work. Now, I know this looks a little long, so what I recommend doing is pausing the video, reading this, and then coming back. All right, remember, right after your rule sentence, the very next sentence must be, right after your issue sentence, the very next sentence must be a rule. And as we just finished discussing in PowerPoint number 2, the rule sentence should be the takeaway rule, which means that it should be that one piece of information that you've learned from your cited case that you can now apply to any number of scenarios. So here, as we just stated, the rule is a dwelling is a place of habitation, a place where a person sleeps, followed immediately by the full citation in proper citation format and a period after the citation. So this first part here, these two sentences, which is the rule and the citation, technically this satisfies what your rule is supposed to look like. However, as we've been discussing in this unit, that you really want to expand on that rule. You want the rule to also not just be what is our rule, but how is the rule applied in our cited case? Because a rule is just a rule, but we really want the context, much like the example of sack and shop in your book. So my recommendation, and what I'd like to see you practice doing, is taking not just the rule sentence, which you can see I repeated here in the bigger paragraph, but also then adding, not too much, just 2-3 sentences where you explain what happened in the cited case. And when I say 2 to 3 sentences explaining, what I mean is 1 to 2 sentences with the facts of that cited case, followed immediately by a sentence with the holding from that case. That's really all you need. And remember, if you've done a case brief of your cited case, this should be a relatively easy part to write, because you've already identified the facts and holding from your cited case. So you can see we write in Correa, the cited case, the defendant entered the motel room of 2 women and took their wallets. He argued that the motel was not a dwelling under the Massachusetts burglary statute. However, the court disagreed and explained that a dwelling is a place of habitation, meaning a place where people sleep. The court therefore held that a motel is also a dwelling under the statute. So again, you could rephrase this, rewrite it. You could actually make it even longer if you'd like. You could expand and explain how walk through more of the court's analysis, how the court explained that a motel was exactly like a hotel, which was similar to boarding houses. I mean, you could expand on that and write even more. But really all we're looking for is a couple of sentences like this, the facts plus the holding of your cited case. So that completes the rule section and makes it much more comprehensive and provides a lot more context for your reader. So far what we have is the issue sentence. The issue is whether the Danvers Executive Travel Lodge is a motel. We have our rule sentence followed immediately by a citation. And then we have an expansion of the rule section where we explain how that rule was applied in the cited case. Notice what we haven't mentioned at all yet. We haven't mentioned anything about the Danvers Executive Travel Lodge? Is it a place where people sleep? What kind of structure is it? That's going to come in the next part of our IRAC, which is analysis. So again, this is the end of the rule section, and next we're going to move on to analysis. I just want to mention again something I've mentioned before, which is if you happen to have had 2 cases or 3 cases that all help define dwelling, then what you would do is you would add a second case to this rule section because both of them involve dwelling. So if you want to reach out to me and talk about using 2 cases for the same issue, we will develop more about that idea together, but in case you're wondering about it now. Okay, so we've got issue, we've got rule. Now we're going to move on to analysis. Okay, remember that analysis should begin with the transition of in our case. You can use other transitions like in the present case, in the instant case, or you can even use transitions like similarly or by contrast because you might be doing a comparison of your case to the precedent. But here in analysis, the key part is we want to use details about our client's case. The facts make the story. As we've learned, even a small change in facts could really change the outcome. That's something we're going to continue to talk about as we learn how to do IRAC, is when we read precedent and we're reading the facts of the precedent, we then are comparing it to our own case, and no 2 cases are ever the same. So the facts of our case are critically important. So what I would recommend doing is focusing on adding those details to your analysis section. So you begin with something like in our case, and now let's use the facts here. Bob entered the Danvers Executive Travel Lodge. A travel lodge is a place where people sleep and spend the night, much like a hotel or motel. Right? I mean, do we need to say a lot more than that? Probably not. But we do need to point out the very obvious fact that a travel lodge is a place where people sleep and spend the night. Again, you could expand on it. You could say it's a place that's common for individuals that need to stay for long periods of time. You can expand on it, but notice 2 sentences do the trick here. As we get more involved cases, you might need to write more analysis. Okay, so now we have our issue, we have our rule, we have our analysis. What's left? Just a quick conclusion. And the quick conclusion is simply, therefore, the Danvers Executive Travel Lodge is a dwelling. Remember that the conclusion should be 1 sentence and it should answer your issue. So that's what we've done here. Remember, the issue is whether the Danvers Executive Travel Lodge is a dwelling. Well, now we have the conclusion. Yes, it is a dwelling. Again, if you feel like, I'm not still 100% sure, you can say is likely a dwelling. But the point of doing this analysis is that we want to make a prediction one way or another, because the one thing we don't want to say to our client is, I don't know, I've read the cases about dwelling and I have no idea if it is or not. I mean, yes, are we the judge and the jury? No. But we can make an educated prediction, which is exactly what your IRAC paragraph is. All right, you ready to see the final paragraph all in its glory? Sorry, it's got a lot of text on this slide, but here it is. I'll move myself out of the way. Let's see. I can't move myself completely out of the way. The issue is whether the Danvers Executive Travel Lodge is a dwelling. And then I won't read the whole thing to you. You can read it to yourself. But I want you to see how the whole paragraph comes together. If you're writing it in a formal writing, you would have also, of course, indent the paragraph. But basically, it all comes issue. Here's your rule. Here's your expanded rule. Here's your transition in our case. There's your facts and the conclusion and the end. So not terribly long. What I'd like you to do before we leave this video is just pause this page. I'm actually going to have this available as a Word document as well. But what I'd like you to do is identify where's the issue sentence here. Where's the takeaway rule sentence and the proper citation? Where are the sentences where your rule is explained? And lastly, where are your sentences where you transition into the facts of your client's case and then the conclusion? This is a habit I'd like you to be in for all of your legal writing. It's not easy to build an IRAC, which is why I've given you all of these pieces of the structure. But a little test for yourself to see if you've done the paragraph structure correctly is once your paragraph is done and you think, okay, I think I've written my IRAC analysis, take a break, go back to it and see if you can identify your own sentences. Does it begin with an issue sentence and end with a conclusion sentence? Do you have a takeaway rule sentence in the middle first? I've noticed a common error is to start with an issue sentence and then jump right into analysis. The issue is whether the Danvers Executive Travel Lodge is a dwelling. Bob spent the night at a travel lodge, or Bob went to go visit a travel lodge. But we don't do that. We go right into the rule. So again, that's why a reminder is label all of your sentences when you're done and make sure you follow the structure. If you don't, it's usually a pretty easy fix to kind of cut and paste and move your sentences around. Okay, I look forward to reading your IRAC paragraph soon.